So we are live with Timber Ninja Radio episode 4
Oh, on a roll.
on a
Yeah.
roll. I know. We went from one a year to what? Almost one every week now, right?
Knock on wood. Yeah, we're rolling along. Tomorrow will be 1 year since the flood that took out our equipment.
That is true. I just saw that today. I saw people posting about it, and I was like, ugh, I just don't want to get that karma going.
Yeah. And the federal government still hasn't spent 1 cent in the watersheds that were damaged.
Yeah, that sucks.
Throw out.
Well, even funnier than that is, or not funny, it was tragic for us, but Jordan pointed out that we flooded our old location about the same time.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, so did I. I was going through my phone the other day and saw some old pictures and was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about it.
It wasn't as bad, but we did get flooded. Yeah. So far, we haven't got flooded this year. So that's awesome. We have been flooded with work, which is cool. Like, it's challenging. This time of year, it's like last year we didn't understand what we were getting into like the year before, and we got overwhelmed. And then this year we're doing it again. And it sucks, but then you look at it and it's like, wow, it's great. We could be not doing anything. That would be worse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I was telling y'all before we got on, I was sitting down here chilling out because I'm recording from the shop and just looking at how much we've grown, just like the equipment we have and orders we have ready to go, and just all this. We have our own building now, like all this cool stuff, and just easy to get caught up in the mix of the daily grind and not appreciate what you have. And, thinking about what we're planning for the future with bringing all of our manufacturing in-house and all that stuff. It is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you went back, if we were able to travel back in time and like sit down at that first meeting we had and like talked about this, and like we would never, and we were able to tell our past selves, this is what's coming. We'd be like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Calm down, like.
Well, I mean, Jordan and I joke about this. When we first released like the pre-sale for our sticks, what was the number, Jordan? It was like, we were like, if we can do this much, we'll be cool.
I can't remember, but it was like a quarter of, not even a quarter of what we've done so far.
Yeah, dude, no. I don't even think it's 10% of what's happened so far.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think we actually passed the number in the first 4 months.
Yeah, we did. But I mean, we're not bragging. It was just like,
no.
These weren't like crazy numbers either. They're just like super redneck. Just like, oh, if we do this, it'd be cool. And then all of a sudden it is what it is today. And we're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
We still have yet to catch up from day one.
We're still behind. But there's only one way to eat an elephant, and that's what we're doing. We're just taking a bite every day.
Yeah, I know. And we're trying to bring out new products. So we got our saddles. So today is August the 16th, and our saddles are supposed to be here to ship tomorrow. So they'll be here probably Thursday. So we start shipping out saddles, which is a new thing for us. We had a video done by a guy that reviews saddles, and he's reviewed all of them, thought it was pretty cool. Hit on the points that we wanted to hit on. So I was pretty happy about that. I mean, you guys watched that video.
Yeah, I thought he did a fantastic job. It hit the big stuff about it. Like, we weren't trying to come in with something necessarily that was like the lightest. You know what I mean? Or like, we weren't trying to be the ultralight with it. We just wanted something safe that folks would feel safe in and are comfortable in. And I mean, compared to everything else because this would be the 5th saddle that I've used since 2018. So I had the original Greens trophy line and then a couple others since then. And this is easily the most comfortable thing I've ever sat in.
Yeah. I mean, it's designed, what we were going for was something that was comfortable. Like we've all saddle hunted, hung in rock climbing harnesses, fall protection gear, like all this stuff. And like trying to like put these pieces together. And this specific saddle was engineered around being like a comfortable saddle for people that want to sit all day is what I was thinking about. Because you can suffer through a lot of stuff for an hour or two, but when you go through it like a 12-hour sit for multiple days, like you start to find things that are like important to you. And for me, it's like comfort. I don't want pinch points. I want to be able to adjust my positions to where I can go from leaning to standing to sitting, whatever I want to do with one saddle.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of did that with that. I mean, and also walking in with it, how we made the buckles and like the pass through where it glides through the top panel. Like it keeps everything positioned and it doesn't fall off of you while you're walking. Cause we do a lot of walking, in most of our hunting scenarios anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And that 2 panels actually, man, I love that for the back. Just being able to lift that up on your back for a little bit, get some support. It's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. They're selling well and people like them that have gotten them, and we got more going out. So, and hopefully we have enough for all of us to use this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I don't think if anybody knows this, our first year when we had sticks out, there was one set of sticks that we had that was like kind of shared. Like, no, you remember that? Like,
Yeah.
we just stole Jason's sticks. I obviously didn't get to use them, but it's not because I was sick. It was because like you guys just completely leave me out of everything.
Yeah. You have to earn your right to the goods.
Oh
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, sorry. You'll always be left out. Just
Oh, never mind.
No,
talk about it after the podcast.
So anyway, so saddles, shipping, what else we have new? The camera arm is getting really close. Yeah, we're working on all that. And for everybody that's been asking, we are going to release the tree stand this year, but it's going to be a limited release, and we're working on those details now. And we'll have that to you, but it's going to be a limited release. We're not in a hurry with it. It's going to be rad. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be limited entry. So if you want it, get on it. If not, you don't have to.
Yeah, I think the thing folks hopefully realize about us is we're not just going to rush stuff to market just to have stuff on market. Like the due diligence is going to have to make sure it's actually something worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that's what this stand has been.
Yes. All this stuff has been, I don't know, it's been a long progression. It's fun to do it that way. You get it worked out, and even when you think you have it all worked out, you got people to critique you. So, but you have to take in a percentage of that and see what's something that is really good feedback and put it back into your next generation or whatever you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep evolving, which we're planning to be the instigators of evolution.
In the mobile hunting realm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll add a little. We're going to be the instigators of evolution.
I know, right?
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Those are fantastic movies.
Oh yeah.
I know. They're good. Okay. So moving on from product stuff, I'm a little over that. Let's talk about some early season plans and tactics. What do we have going on? Tyler, let's start with you. You're getting like surgery. So
My season tactics is find a way to use a shoulder cast effectively to where because I'll be like this to where I can actually use my bog pod thing to where I'll just squeeze with my left trigger finger. And that's really I won't know what my season looks like until probably October, middle of October, end of October. So,
Well, sorry to start everything with a downward turn, but glad you're positive about the situation.
somebody's got to be.
Yeah, you're good. Jordan, I mean, what's your early season tactics and plans?
Well, trying to figure out. So I did put in for a non-deer hunt. My buddy Andrew has been on me for years to try to put in for a dove permit. Put in for one of those down on some game lands towards the eastern part of the state, not that far, but a little ways. That's the Saturday we drew for opening day, the Saturday before opening day deer season. So might try to do that. And then opening day, I'm planning on hunting that buck that I found earlier in the year on that point. He's been bedding on that point about every other day. Last time I checked my camera, which I haven't checked my camera in a month and a half, I just stayed out of there. But yeah, my plans are to try to slip in on him and get after him, try to catch him in that early season pattern before he sheds his velvet and becomes normal again.
Yeah. I mean, well, you found that deer last year, or not that deer, but some deer in that area.
Yeah, it could be one of the deer I found has to be yet to be determined.
Mm-hmm. You just moved back a little bit deeper, and you think maybe that's their core area. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a big draw that was in between kind of the ridge that I was hunting last year and this point off of this ridge that and that draw is covered with a lot better habitat, and I think they're probably bedding in there primarily, and then coming out and laying on that point every now and then and feeding and whatnot because there's a lot of good vegetation in there right now.
Yeah, because I mean the pictures you've been getting, you get that deer on that point every day, whereas the deer you were getting on the other camera were like sporadic. So
oh yeah, super sporadic. Which this deer will probably be sporadic as soon as he sheds his velvet and becomes hard horned.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that today. You get the shed and velvet, but you also get the change in foliage down low.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of our mountain terrain, it's pretty greened up down low during the summertime, right? But when it starts becoming fall, you start losing that. So those deer start losing that cover. And I know Tyler probably could touch on this a little bit from his background, but we were just talking about this today. That's why it just come fresh in my mind. It's like thinking that some of these bucks that they may not have these big core ranges that you hear about other deer in the Midwest and stuff, because over here in the mountains, they don't have to expand it that much. They're not going to travel too far to reach anything that much better. So that I feel they keep a smaller core range, but I think like their elevation changes based on foliage.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you see it a lot with the counties that are the high country coming off of Mount Mitchell and start coming down the Appalachians, and you'll start seeing like sugar maples and all these different trees will start, like right now where I'm at for this conference or this training, there's a lot of trees that are like maples that are already red and yellowing, and they're not even high up the mountain. They're not too far up, but like you'll start seeing a lot of that start going pretty quick, in September and October. And then like if you drive from here and start heading to Hickory, it's funny when you hit Old Fort Mountain and you start going down how green it still is through October.
Oh, yeah.
When you get up to the top, how everything's gone. When you start looking at Klingman's and everything over there, like everything's already gone, So, yeah. And a lot of it comes back on the species because, like, beech trees, they'll hold their leaves, and scarlet oaks hold their leaves longer than anything else, So it's interesting because then if you start thinking about the food based off of the foliage and the stuff coming off the trees, like from browsing, that really changes it fast. And I don't know, I could nerd out on this for hours because folks get fixated on oaks and how the oaks are doing, but like in the grand scheme of things up here, like oaks are too weak at best for whitetail. But then you think about turkeys and bears and all the other critters that are hitting it up. It's really a small window, and especially in certain pockets.
What about the understory? I mean, that's what we see them like bedding in and hitting on in the lower elevation during early season. Like you got all of your nettle, ferns, a lot of this stuff, they'll browse on a lot of that stuff, but I don't think nettles, they like to browse on early season, but then not as much when they get more mature, correct? Yeah.
And that's you can see that the same way, like if you move down the mountain, but there's been another thing, like a way to look at it is if folks will go and find like some good native browse species and forage and forbs and things like that. There's an app. It's Seek by iNaturalist. iNaturalist is another good one. And it'll show you like of native plants, like the growth curve, like where the peak is and everything. And you can follow that out till it goes dormant. For us, the vast majority of things, especially in the understory, are going to be dormant October, definitely November. We have weird years every now and then where we get a little bit longer into November. But a lot of times you're already dormant, and they're transitioning their food source is pretty pretty heavy to hit a lot, like more mass and stuff going down. But because I want to say there's 3 different nettles that are native, but you got the Spanish, then you got the stinging, and July and August, you see stinging nettle browse really heavy up the mountain.
Oh, I see probably more of that than anything.
Yeah. Well, and also I notice, I think deer use it for cover, food, and also that's usually the cooler side of the mountain because it usually grows on the north facing side. So early
creek banks, creeks, wet areas.
Early season, I always see a lot more traffic in those areas on that side of the mountain. And that's what I've been seeing now, because what I've been looking at for my early season hunts, I've got one big buck that I'm after, which there's a couple subordinates in there that are studs too, but I don't know their early season pattern. So I am going to try to hunt them early. But I've also been looking for like close places for early season hunts.
Yeah.
And I've been focused on that low country stuff, whereas I'm usually focused on high country. But I was telling Jordan the other day after a scouting trip, like how much sign I found low. I mean, I was probably 500 yards from the truck. I mean, it was steep and it was weird country, but the deer were in there, man, down low.
And have you noticed that if it's in an area with a lot of bear, like there's almost like a defined line between where like you have a little intermixing with the bears, but the further you get up the mountain, in some of the places I go, it's heavy bear, not a lot of deer, but low.
I've noticed that with and also a trail cam activity with all deer, but it seems like the mature bucks kind of hold their spots. The only thing I've been noticing and taking consideration for this year is I'm seeing a lot of deer sign low, and there's a lot of vegetation where I think they can hide. And as that clears out by fall, those woods become very open, and those deer continue to move higher up, get closer to those rhodo thickets and stuff like that. So I think it has something to do with correlation with, I don't know, in my opinion, I've just been thinking about this today, but how people see transitions in the mountains from bucks that are mature bucks living low, but then they think it's like a velvet kick or something. I wonder if it's more of a foliage kick that pushes those deer into higher regions or somewhere where there's more cover.
I tend to
think they're breaking up. I mean,
they're definitely breaking up. Yeah.
One of the biggest things, they spread out and try to find their areas where they like to be able to feel safe and look down on everything. And
And Roto's a good food source that's pretty consistent throughout the year.
Oh, it'd be awful eating that stuff.
Dude,
Yeah.
if you go and look like somewhere where somebody's planted Roto or mountain laurel or something, and it's in an area with a lot of deer, the browse line, you'll see it 5 foot down. You'll see a good browse line. And you think like when we were walking through the area where we had to go to get Jason's, like, I mean, I could stand up in there, and everyone knows I'm a mountain of a man, 5'8". But like, if you looked while we were walking through those real defined trails, like there wasn't a whole lot of browse left there, you know?
Yeah, and you got to think too what time of year that was, because I usually only see them eating laurel like late when they're like struggling.
Absolutely, yeah.
I saw something cool this past year that I hadn't seen in a long time, and that was hiking out on a late season rifle hunt, and the place where I was going to turn down to go down this ridge, I think was like 4,400, something like that. I mean, and it was wind was blowing like 20 some miles an hour, sleet, and like it was cold. God, it was cold. There was like 2 inches of snow on the ground. And right as I was turning down, it was obviously dark, and I saw eyes everywhere up on top. And I'm like, what the heck are they? And they were standing up. I'm like, what are they doing on this top? The wind's blowing so hard. And then I just sat down because I didn't want to spook them and see what happened. And it looked like hogs, like where the deer had just been pawing up that snow to get red oak acorns that were still available. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty cool just because I hadn't seen that in a long time, but you forget just how resourceful they are.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's insane, man. They're so resilient when they get established in an area. It's tough to beat something like a whitetail that's just resilient to certain things.
Yeah. Well, they establish themselves in every terrain in, continental US, essentially. So where are you going to be opening morning, Jordan?
I don't know if I'm going to go in there opening morning, to be honest with you. I might. I tell you what my ideal, like perfect scenario would be a little cold front, which that's not going to happen, but just a little drop of temperature, a little rain the night before, so I could sneak through the leaves and not make a peep. And there's a deep cut that comes up to the one side of that finger ridge, that knoll. It's a pretty flat, a deep cut that comes up to the side of it where they are not. I have not seen them using that cut there. They go around the top of it, obviously, but they're using that holler on the other side primarily. So ideally it would be wet leaves. I could sneak down and hang right under the top of that cut. So my thermals will be sucking down that draw, and they'll pop up out of the holler on the other side and get a shot. It's the ideal situation.
I think for early season, I will be sleeping in opening morning, and
yeah, that's what I meant. A light rain, sleep in, go in like 9:30, 10. Yeah. Just because I do have pictures of him, like midday on coming up on that ridge. Yeah,
transitioning because of the sun or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I'm planning on going there. Well, I'm gonna go. Having set cameras out where this big deer is this spring, so I may do that this weekend, and if not, I'll go in there opening afternoon and just set up and then set a camera up and see what happens, because I think those deer that are in there, if it's their home range, one of them I know it's home range, the other two I'm not sure of. The biggest one I'm not sure of, so I'd like to see, because there's like private ag below that. So I would like to see if they're using that early season based on the theories that we were talking about earlier, with bucks maybe being down lower early season, because there's that finger that comes off is like a sweet oak flat. And I think, we catch some of that early oak action there too. So I like getting there and get a camera. I'm not big on using cameras. I'm trying to get away from it more than not, but it's tough up here in the mountains, because sometimes it's the only thing that gives you hope when you don't see as many deer. But I would like to get a camera in there, so I'm going to plan on doing that. But also I got these new spots I've been checking out. I found this spot that this past weekend that was just eaten up with deer sign. I didn't see any good buck sign there, but I did find some decent buck tracks. But there's this one spot where like pinch points down below a boulder. It's about, I don't know, it's 8 to 12 feet tall. And I'm just like, man, if I could set up a hide right there on that boulder, I don't care what comes through there. I just want to shoot it. It's just like perfect Indian setup. Like, I don't care. And the trails there, I haven't shown you all the videos yet, but like they're just beat in, which we don't see it up here much.
No.
So I'm like, this is a great crossing point, and I don't care what comes through here. If I can shoot it from this boulder, I'll be stoked. And
You
it's
don't
like
see 15 bears sitting on top of that boulder.
yeah, I'm going to like push them out of the way. I need to sit here too, bro. Yeah, I know. That's probably the thing. Yeah,
They're coming down that trail all day.
I know. It's probably gonna be more bears than anything.
That's something I'm like genuinely concerned about this year. Is that spot is like the bears running that buck off, because I had quite a bit of times where the buck would be there in the morning, and then like all of a sudden he wouldn't be there, and then there'd be bears. And there'd be bears for 24 hours, and then I mean, I know that they coexist, obviously, but I don't think they like them being around them.
I don't either, but like what I've noticed with trail cam photos is an older buck, he's kind of an asshole, and I mean, if you watch whitetail bucks fighting a lot of animals, especially in these West Texas ranches and stuff, they will square up with anything. And I've got pictures of them squaring up with bears on camera. Like, I think these older bucks, it's not going to push them out as much as it would like your younger bucks or your does and stuff. I think that that deer that I think the one you're talking about, he looks to be 4+, so he's probably pretty established in his own zone.
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean, even a bear, like, you don't want that, a deer with 18-inch wide rack, 220 pounds, whatever he weighs, 200 pounds coming at you when you're a mountain bear. Like, he probably can be pretty damn aggressive.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're kind of assholes when they get testosterone rolling,
It's true. This is true. I do have my uncle was drawn back. It was during bear season. So he had his rifle and a bow because he was deer hunting, and had a good buck at like 30 yards, draw back on it, and his peep sight turned as he was drawing back. So he was frustrated. He couldn't see, so he was letting it down. And all of a sudden that buck looked up and blew and took off running. He's like, he checked his wind, and his wind was good. And then all of a sudden, here comes a bear out of the holler to the left of where that buck was. And he killed it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really want to try and make happen this year. I really want to get a bear down.
It'd be easy to do if you, I feel like if you just put time into it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, like, I've never killed a lot of bears. I just never, they're so common. I've never really the one year I actually committed myself to trying to kill one. I shot one. I made a terrible shot with my longbow. But I had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Bear chili with some shiitakes in it, and a little bit of peppers.
There you go.
That's good.
I can guarantee you a bear every year, or at least an opportunity.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Now a big bear, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
if
what
you're not hunting with dogs.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Or a bear on public's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah. No, I'd like to get one on public this year.
That'd be cool.
That'd be fun. Cool. We kind of know where we're going to be for early season. Going to be hunting with our sponsor, Timber Ninja Outdoors gear. Give them a little shout out. So next thing on the list is influencer news. This is a new thing that we're adding in.
Yeah, we're just going to take a moment to discuss a few things. I think now's a good time. Right, there's a buzzword that's been going on, and I'm a fan of this buzzword. That buzzword is conservation. And it gets thrown around a lot, like hunting is conservation, when certain members of the Instagram community will tag themselves in a thing with hunting is conservation while they're biting a duck bill in their mouth, taking a selfie with a dead animal that's laying next to them, or doing other stuff that's just a bunch of tomfoolery and does not reflect well. And they're kind of missing what conservation is. Conservation is the wise use of our natural resources and how we manage it. It's not you putting on a pair of boots and tucking your jeans in, which is a whole nother subject I would love to discuss one day. If you're not walking through a cow field, through cow patties or mud, don't tuck your jeans in your boots for the love of God. But that's another thing, I'll raise some of you. But with conservation, we have a great, amazing heritage that these people just skim over, and they actually pervert when they do this stuff. And it's very frustrating, which is going to bring us to another influence.
Oh, God, he's rolling now, Jason.
Oh, well, I'm just sitting back.
Gas was also the ingredient in this one thing that we use as conservationists quite a bit. It's a thing called a drip torch. You'll use a drip torch to light a prescribed fire. Now, myself, I've only lit in a very few prescribed fires, but I've lit back in fires on a lot of wildfires, fought a lot of wildfires, assisted on a lot of prescribed fires over the past 14 years. Never have I been like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get inside of where the burn's going to be and light this from a moving vehicle while the wind is showing you that it's blowing towards the center. Maybe here's the thought, folks. Maybe if we're going to start doing prescribed fire or look at certain things, certain habitat things, how about we reach out to the resource professionals that do it every day, and they're not just doing it for an Instagram video. We got a wide surplus of them across this country. The North American model of wildlife conservation has brought some amazing things. Multiple Forest Service, multiple wildlife agency, multiple soil and water districts, U.S. Forest Service, BLM, the list goes on. You don't need to get instructions for how to conservate from people on Instagram.
Wow. Jordan, do you have some water to put on that fire?
I don't have anything for that.
I know. I mean, you're kind of alluding to this post that I saw pop into my feed. It's like Josh Bomar, and he was running a torch outside of the driver's side of his truck and caught his truck on fire, and he tried to put it out with a
leaf blower.
Leaf blower aimed at the truck.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to break this down. Like, I don't have any hate against anybody, but I'm just like calling a spade when it's a spade. So I read comments, which I shouldn't do, but I did. And I was just like, oh, I want to go through this. And he answers a lot of his comments, which I'm highly impressed with. But one question was, why were you driving with the torch outside of your truck? And he said, because it's so hot, you can't stand next to it, which a drip torch is not hot. I've used them. Like, you can walk, and people do it for a living every day of their life. Right. And then part two was when the flame was up next to the truck, and I'm not trying to like be an insurance adjuster here, but like when the flame is going towards your truck, you don't take a blower and blow oxygen onto a fire. Like, what didn't we learn the fire triangle when we were in elementary school?
And if folks need a refresher,
so what causes fire, guys?
Fuel, heat, and oxygen.
And oxygen. Oh shit. So,
and fuel can be so many things. Rubber's a good fuel. So is gasoline.
So would fuel be
Power Stroke's a good fuel.
Corn stalks around your tires? Heat is the fire already there, right? That's the fuel or the heat. And then the oxygen's the blower you're blowing against your truck. Oh, I don't know, man.
Dude, I watched it and I didn't want to. I really, really didn't want to, because I get so man, it drives me crazy. But I was watching them with the leaf blower, and I was like, man, ever since I've ever been on a fire line, you never, ever, ever, ever blow that leaf blower in the direction of anything than the area you're trying to burn. You're not going to help. Like, if you're trying to put something out, you don't use a leaf blower. That's never been a thing.
Yeah.
You like dig around. You use the dirt that's all around there.
Yeah.
Call me crazy.
I mean, but the only time you use a leaf blower is if you're trying to protect a cabin that a fire is coming to, and you want to get leaves away from it.
Or you want to get that back and fire rolling. You want to get like if you're trying to cut one off coming down the hill or something you're trying to set, because in North Carolina we have to fight wildfires head on. We're one of the few states in the East that's a policy that we have to do because we have structures in places that structures shouldn't be there. But like people weren't like, oh, I'm going to build a house here because I'm trying to make life difficult for people that are fighting wildfires. So we have to use it. And when you're wanting to get that intensity going, that, increase the fire's behavior going to fight that other fire, because when we're talking about the triangle, when you remove one of those, it falls in on itself. And one of the ways to do that is fighting fire with fire. So that's why you do that, or that's one of the techniques you can use to do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you got on that, because I was getting to that point about how you break down the triangles, take one thing out, not add more of it.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic that people burn. I think we need to be smarter about educating folks on the fire regime, like how it was in Afro Puerto Rico system, how we need to get back there. But I also think that if this is something folks want to engage in, reach out to your local Forest Service, Wildlife Resource Commission, NRCS, Soil and Water District. There's trainings that you can have that are free in many states. And if they're not free in your state, reach out to organizations like the National Deer Association, Rough Grouse Society, Quail Forever, Pheasants Forever, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I'm sure it can help coordinate it. And you can get the training to do these things and understand it, and the Nature Conservancy. If folks really enjoy the podcast world, if you want a good podcast to go listen to, my buddies at Land and Legacy, they're great. They know their stuff. And then Kyle started one, I think it's called the Native Habitat Project. It's fantastic as well. Those are resource professionals that do the job, and they ain't doing it for the freaking gram.
I tell you, it's had some good habitat stuff lately too. Is Turkeys for Tomorrow? They've had some good stuff recently.
They've had some good stuff. National Deer Association's had some good stuff. Man,
yeah.
Kip Adams is top notch. Him and Matt Ross, they're top notch knowing their stuff when it comes to, conservation and habitat. I'm really interested. I like what Turkeys for Tomorrow is doing. Because this is going to be a nerd out. Just give me a second, Jason. I know this is going to drive you crazy, but you're going to love me one day. They're talking about doing fundraising for research, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. That's awesome. But I think one of the things that would be really great to do is to incentivize private landowners that are able to do EQIP or CSP with the NRCS or other, local cost share programs, to incentivize them by covering the remaining part of the cost share to making it 100% covered, and getting people on the landscape to show them what conservation actually is, putting it on the ground, but also make it to where these landowners aren't having to come out of their pocket on some of this stuff,
Yeah.
But I think they're heading in a great direction, really. And in our area, Rough Grouse Society is probably the top notch when it comes to habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps everything involved.
Well, there's a lot of areas that have good WRC type programs where farmers can take land that's not tillable and put it into WRC and make it public land use. That happens in a lot of states. And, with apps not updating as quick, some of this information is not privy if you're app-based hunter, but if you do the research and call Fish and Game, you can get access to some of these places because they're consistently doing this in a lot of states.
Yeah. And these states, for doing the programs on private land, the agencies, so that's what I do right now in North Carolina. I help, landowners do conservation implementation on land. We don't get a budget for advertising. We don't get anything for that. So it's honest to God, word of mouth. We put something in the paper, just stuff here and there, people, talking about it. And really some of the big success stories that we've had in the area have been people that are hunters stepping up on public and private lands to help with implementation.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. I know we started this with influencer news, which we got drugged down this rabbit hole, which I'm glad we went down. We're good at rabbit holes. We're talking about Josh Bomar burning his truck up. That's things you don't do when you're trying to go for conservation, but maybe you're going for the gram. It works. Losing that truck, he probably made a lot of money off of it. Shirtless and veneers on his teeth and all that stuff. It all works.
Lord.
You were talking about biting the duck bills. When I was a duck guide, when I was younger, we used to get cripples in. I would bite them behind the eye to kill them instead of shooting them.
Talking about ducks. We're talking about ducks.
Yeah, you're talking about biting the duck bills for conservation.
Yes.
So when you sent that comment over earlier when we were talking about an agenda, I was thinking about how I used to bite these ducks' heads behind their eyes to kill them because it just goes straight to their brain. I put my canines right behind their eye and I just crunch down.
What's wrong with doves?
Yeah. It would blow the minds of some of these dudes.
Ozzy Osbourne originated that, didn't he?
Yeah, I know.
And he's doing great.
And I was like 15 doing this for these like rich dudes from North Carolina coming over to go guiding. And they were like, God, that's savage. And I was like, no, it just saves me a bullet, bro. I could have just whacked his head against the thing, but I thought it was a better effect to bite the back of his head myself.
I mean, it was probably instantaneous and he went straight to the, thing, but you weren't doing it like with the duck hanging out and doing like this.
Yeah.
And then hashtag
it wasn't for a picture.
Hashtag yeah.
At this company that I want to sponsor me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I said it.
Never know what happens.
Jason does it to us all the time.
I know. I keep y'all full of influencer news myself. So moving on to the next topic that we have tonight, and that is rapid fire questions with Jordan.
Oh, geez.
Rapid fire question. So the first one is a good one that Tyler came up with. Who is your hunting role model?
Tyler Ross.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the correct answer.
Oh, man. My hunting role model, man. I think Tricky had this question last time. I don't know. I feel like it changed throughout the years. I mean, just depending on, what stage of my life I was at. I mean, obviously, like, growing up, before our time, we talked about it last podcast, but Fred Bear, all the stories and things that he had accomplished in the old videos you saw. Then there for a while, it was probably like, I think Will Primos was a really big part of my childhood because the Truth About Hunting would be playing like every Sunday morning. And I would get up and watch that before we went to church every Sunday. And it was like either him hunting elk, which is what created the desire that I wanted to go chase elk one day so bad. And then, or he was like shooting giant deer in the river bottoms. Like, so I think he was my role model at one point. And then, Stan Potts was, as goofy as he was. Cause back then that was kind of like, obviously we didn't have YouTube and you couldn't see everybody doing everything. So it was just like them on, real tree monster bucks, and little did we know they were just trying to sell us product at a young age.
Yeah.
Scent killer and stuff. But, yeah. And then, obviously my papaw and, my uncle and my dad and stepdad and all my family, were my role models at one point. But
I mean, I was hoping you were going to say most recently it's been Jason.
Yeah. Most recently, Jason Red.
Yeah.
Hashtag trad life.
Trad life.
But, bow hunting was, nobody in my family bow hunted. So that was kind of, I think, why I looked up to those guys so much, because they were just like, killing everything with a bow. And back then, not many people really bow hunted.
No, same here. Like, I didn't grow up in a bow hunting family. So I learned, and the guys I knew were bow hunters I thought were the coolest dudes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and they also were guys that were getting to hunt places that were only bow only. So they were killing bigger deer. I mean, that was when I lived in Arkansas. But yeah, no, it's funny the people you look up to. I look up to the same people that you were talking about, because that's what I used to have my mom take me, and I would rent movies from the VHS at this place called like Movie Magic or something like that. You just had to go rent the videos, and
Yeah.
I'd rent a bunch of them. Then I would sneak behind the curtain and check out the porn for a second. And but couldn't rent those.
God almighty.
Son, you're too young to be in there.
Oh, we can't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
Dude, I had my uncle gave me a VHS of like Real Tree Monster Bucks. I can't remember what edition it was, but it had obviously Bill Jordan and like Michael Waddell was on there, and they were just like hunting in the Milk River, Montana, and just like I'd watch that every night before I went to sleep. Like it would literally go off every night. I'd fall asleep. And it was just yeah, I mean that's all we had back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody catering to the you're seeing these people hunting whitetail in Milk River, Montana, and then I'm walking out the back of Appalachia with still hadn't seen a deer at my house.
I know. I remember I used to try,
and I'm like, why in this food plot pulling them in?
Yeah, I know. I used to think the same thing. I'd set up on every open area anywhere I went. Man, I was so dumb.
Yeah.
So
Clover.
Yeah.
Biologic, come on.
Yeah, come on. They're coming in here. These boys do it. So trad bow or compound?
Oh man. I got watching the video. I got 3 trad and 2 compound in behind me. Man, God, dude, I've talked with you quite a bit about that struggle I've had. I can say without a doubt that I started shooting a trad bow before shooting a trad bow is cool. I got my first trad bow in 2012. Tyler remembers that because we took it down to Matt's Lake House and were shooting off the back porch like 2 a.m. That's back when I was shooting my recurve right-handed because I'm a right-handed shooter, but I eventually figured out that I'm left eye dominant. So I actually taught myself to shoot a stick bow left-handed because my grouping was just way better and I could actually see the arrow versus trying to look out of my left eye shooting right-handed. It was just did not work out well with me. But man, I've been struggling the last couple of years trying to figure out, but I don't do either one for anybody. I do it for myself. And at this stage of my life, I love shooting my stick bows, and I'll probably, I'll obviously continue to hunt with a stick bow off and on. But with 3 young kids, my time hunting is so limited, and the amount of opportunities in Western North Carolina on a mature deer are so limited in the first place. It's like I'm just handicap on top of handicap, which don't get me wrong, I love the challenge. It's why I started bow hunting when I was a kid. And that's why I've been fly fishing since I was 10. I like to make things harder than they are, but
not just with that stuff.
Yeah. But so right now, like I think I'll probably hunt with a compound this year. I mean, I didn't, I missed a 130-inch 10-point last year with my bow, which just broke my heart. So I, of course, first thing I'm going to think is, man, if I had a compound, I could have killed it. But, it's not what it's about at the end of the day. But at the same time, I'm putting all this time and effort in away from my family. When I have that opportunity, I want to feel 100% confident that I have the odds in my favor.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a realistic perception to have when you're looking at weapons. Is you got to look at it. It's not about how you look. It's how you feel when you do it,
Yeah.
And like you're trying to achieve a goal with limited time. And obviously a wheel bow extends your range and a lot of other little factors. So like you got to capitalize on that and just realize where you're at. I mean, there's no reason jumping, because like, this is what I really want to do. But also what makes you happy is accomplishing a goal of killing an animal. You got to be realistic with what your opportunities are. Like not everybody can go out and be a stick bow assassin.
I knew that was going to be thrown in there somewhere. Dude, I will say, man, it's so cool just carrying a stick bow through the woods. Like even when we went elk hunting in 2020, I hunted with my longbow for the first 3.5 days, and like it was just a blast, like stump shooting everywhere we went. Like you don't do that stuff with compound, like see a rock at 45 and just let it fly. And So that was, I'd love carrying one through the woods, and I love shooting one. Like, they're so much fun. Compounds are boring to shoot. But, you know, just like you said, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, it's all about what gets you out of bed. That's how I look at it. The last question is, what's your favorite snacks on the deer stand?
My favorite snacks on the deer stand. Man, I'm not a big snack guy. Like, when BMAC came into town to turkey hunt with me and Tyler, I remember like the second day, it was like 11 a.m. and we had both mornings had not eaten a bit of anything. And he's like, man, you Eastern guys, I got to give y'all credit. You don't eat or what? And I'm like, are you hungry? So I started packing them Cliff Bars. But
dude, when he killed his first elk, it was me and him up on the mountain. One day we'll recap that because it was amazing. But we ate lunch. Then we went in on that bull, just leapfrogging each other. And that was at what, Jordan? 11:30?
yeah, something like that.
And you killed that bull at like 1:53, I believe was the exact time.
Yes, I was like that right there.
I had to go 7 miles to go get Tyler and David, 7 miles back to Jordan. And we started breaking that bull down. We did not get back to camp till 2 o'clock that morning.
Yeah, every bit of it.
And we finally get off the mountain and we're going down this one path. And Jordan sits on this rock and he passes out because he hadn't ate. Almost, It was 15 hours since he had ate.
That's called That's called bonking, sir. And we don't call that a good thing in this world.
No. So David was like, "When's the last time you ate? You eat right now. You don't eat. You ain't dying on me out here."
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget to eat sometimes, but I like keep it simple, man. Cliff Bars. I like those energy chews. I do love me a good PB&J on a tortilla wrap. It's hard to beat. That's probably my favorite backcountry.
One day we'll have to do with an elk meal menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just backcountry in general. Nice. Well, that's wrapping up our nightly discussion with the team. We've got another guest coming on, I guess tomorrow. We've got Bo coming on. So we'll do that. And
what are you guys going to talk about?
Just adventure stuff, I guess.
Does Bo know?
Yeah. Ooh. How do you define adventure?
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about mustaches. That's one thing I want to talk about.
He does. Over under, he grooms that bad boy.
I know.
He grooms it. He oils it. He oils that thing.
But, in closing, I did look at our stats from the last podcast, which we did with Chris Perino, and it's getting a lot of views already. It's astonishing to me to see how many people are like actually listening to our podcast. I didn't think people would listen at all.
It'll be going down shortly. Don't you get your hopes up.
Wait till they read through this. Wait till they hear this one.
Yeah, I know. Or only be diehard people.
Get mad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But, if you want to continue to listen to this, the best way to do that is to smash that subscribe button on any outlet that you choose to listen to your podcast. And also go follow our sponsor at Timber Ninja Outdoors that makes the most innovative, lightweight whitetail hunting products in the industry. And we also back up with education and conservation. So follow our friends at Timber Ninja Outdoors to learn the most about innovative products and mobile hunting strategies.
All right here in the red, white, and blue, baby.
Yes, all made here. No kids making our stuff except for my kid and Tyler's.
And mine, yeah.
Yeah. Over and out.
Yeah.